that. Very good. Welcome all of you joining us here for the webinar on skills needed for the green transition from a Nordic perspective. And we have some great speakers here from all Nordic countries, from Iceland, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and also soon from Finland. So we are just waiting a minute there are more people joining. So we just give you a few more seconds before we start. But you are very welcome, all of you. We look forward. Let's see. You can just give me a thumb up till then when you think we can start.
I think we can start now. It seems like people have joined.
Okay. So, warm welcome, everybody. And as I said, we have from Iceland in the west to Finland in the east, Norway in the north, and Denmark in the south. We sit here in the middle in Stockholm, broadcasting this webinar from Stockholm, Sweden. And today, we will discuss an aspect of the green transition that is gaining more and more attention in the debates across all our 5 Nordic countries and elsewhere as well, of course. The challenges around competence and skills for the ongoing transition and what we can do about it. We face similar situations in our 5 countries, but also some differences, so we can learn from each other. It's our belief that we can collaborate and draw inspiration from each other. So this webinar is organized by the Haga Initiative in Sweden, and we collaborate with Climate Leadership Coalition, CLC, in Finland, with Business Climate Leaders Shift in Norway, and together in this project that we call Skills for the Green Transition. And we are very happy to have finance from the Nordic Council of Ministers. This morning, we were organizing it like this. After some brief presentations from all speakers, we will engage in discussions and conclude with a session where we gather questions to address our policymakers at national levels in our different countries, but also at the Nordic level and EU level. And leading this discussion is my colleague Josefina Schindler. Wave. My name is Eva Krutmeier, and this webinar is recorded and of course can be seen as many times as you want afterwards. And please spread it to your friends. Warm welcome to all, and Josefina, over to you and the next slide, I think.
Well, thank you, Eva. I thought I'd just initially say a few words about the Swedish Haga Initiative, which consists of the companies in the picture. And they all have a large share of the market. Together, they have a turnover representing 7% of the Swedish GDP. And our strategy is staying well below the 1.5 degree target. We can change the slide. And the Haga Initiative works with 3 strategies: by political influence, because we will not reach our targets without support from policy, by walking the talk, by reporting on climate impact and working with value chains, and last but not least, by showcasing how business profitability and climate benefits can go hand in hand.
Yes, and the agenda here today, as I mentioned, we listen to the presentations, and we will have a discussion, and we will end with a summary and a discussion where we sort of summarize messages to policy level. So this is it, and we will have 1.5 hours together. Actually, one challenge for me is to keep track of the time here. So I will use a little party popper when it's 1 minute left for the speakers. And I hope that they can see this and that we can keep maximum 7 minutes for each speaker so that we have time also for this discussion at the end. Okay, next, please. We are so happy, as I said, to have participants from all 5 Nordic countries in our family here. And it's Are Turmo. You are director of Næringslivets Hovedorganisasjon, NHO, in Norway. I hope you can, if you can just switch on your mic and say hello, Are.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Are. Great to see you. And Johan Sittenfelt, analyst at Engineers of Sweden. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Johan. Great to see you. We have Johan, another Johan from Sweden. We're making it easy here. Johan Hall.
Yeah, hi, everyone. Hi.
We don't see you, but we hear you.
I have some problems with my camera, but since I have some slides, you can enjoy them instead.
We will enjoy your voice also.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for attending. Martin Liebing-Madsen, you're head of the Secretariat of Industrins Fällesutvalg. Is that approximately
that is perfectly
okay?
correct. Thank you for the opportunity to join you here today. I'm looking forward to our
Martin, we
discussion.
can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
You could just a minute ago. So there you are. Yes.
Okay, super. Thank you. Happy to join.
We are so glad that you are with us. And Mikko, I don't think you are here yet. He will arrive from another meeting at 10 o'clock. But Maria, Jonna Magnusdottir, you are director of the Icelandic Federation for Motor Trades and Repairs.
Yes, hello. Nice to be here with you today.
Hello, Maria. And Camilla Georgsson, Head of Unit for Competence and Skills at the Association of Swedish Engineering Industries. Let's hope that we can hear you also.
Good
We
morning,
had some
everyone.
problems with your mic as well. Hello. Hello, Camilla.
Good morning, everyone.
I hope we can hear you. We can't.
I think the others can, Eva. They're nodding. Well, it's mandatory to have some technical issues when doing a webinar. So I think Eva is now frozen in time. Yeah. So I think the problem is probably on her end at the moment.
Yeah, perhaps. So should we just wait a minute to see if Eva can join us?
I think I'm back.
Okay, yeah, yes, you
Oh,
are. Perfect.
this is scary. I was just out. What about Camilla? Can we hear her? Is she in? Good, great. Then let's continue. And next slide, please, Tilde. I'm so sorry about this. I don't know what happens. Josefina, from now on, if this happens again, you jump in, okay? So this webinar, can you nod if you hear me? No, it's something wrong now. You can hear me. It's okay. I just said that Josefina, please take over if this happens again with my computer, because I don't know really. It's a bit scary. This webinar has before this we have had a set of workshops together in the Nordic family, and from there we learned what kind of challenges we face in the different countries, and we just plotted some of them on this slide. As you can see, the sort of need for skills look a bit different, but still the picture on the whole is quite pressing. Actually, we need to focus much more on people and their competences in order to
Oh, it seems like the picture's frozen again, Eva. Should I continue, perhaps?
I think that's your cue, Josefina.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, we'll hope Eva will soon be back. So this is are you back, Eva? No? Okay, then I'll continue. So this is an overview of the picture in all Nordic countries. Maybe just give you all a minute to see the situation in each country. This is, of course, about the lack of skills. Just giving us an overview of the current situation. Should we perhaps change the slide, please, Tilda? Yeah, and we can all, of course, see that there's a need for a diverse set of skills in the Nordics to achieve a green transition, and a big need to harmonize the Nordic market and increase collaboration. And this was also some of the big takeaways from the workshops that we had earlier in this work stream. Could we perhaps change the slide, please? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, going quickly forward with presentations, I think we'll start with Turmo, please.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks for the opportunity to present. Perhaps the next slide, please. So what I'm going to share with you today is some findings from the Norwegian Committee on Skill Needs. And particularly the 2023 report from this committee on skill needs for the green transition. So next slide, please. So what is this Norwegian Committee on Skill Needs? It's a publicly appointed committee, which is rather common in Norwegian policy making. And these kind of committees, they are appointed by the Ministry of a given topic, and in this case, by the Ministry of Education and Research. This Norwegian Committee on Skill Needs consists of different groups of people. We have independent experts, researchers. We have one representative from the county councils, and we also have representatives from the social partners. And this committee is headed by the director of the Norwegian Directorate for Higher Education and Skills. And the Committee on Skill Needs in Norway has worked for 2 periods now. The first period was from 2017 to 2020. And now we're in the second period from 2021 to 2027. So next slide, please. So what are the objectives of this committee? The committee should provide an analysis and assessment of future skill needs, both for the short, medium, and long term. And the goal is to provide the best possible evidence-based assessment and also create consensus and provide state-of-the-art knowledge. And also part of the objectives of this committee is to facilitate and stimulate open dialogue and discussion. The focus has shifted a little bit in these 2 periods. In the first period from 2017 to 2020, the committee looked at skill needs more in general. But in the current period, the aim is to dwell more into specific topics. And these reports and analyses, they will form the basis for planning and strategic decision-making of policymakers. So that's the goal here. So next slide, please. So what is the methodology of this committee? The committee writes reports and briefs on different subtopics each year or every second year. And in the period from 2017 to 2020, there were 3 Norwegian official reports, NOU. And in 2022, the committee looked at ways tertiary vocational education can meet skill needs. And in 2023, we looked at skill needs for the green transition. And we're going to look naturally a little bit more into the results from that report later. And it's also planned in 2025 to look at skill implications of new technologies and AI. And generally, the committee uses a variety of different methods. We look at questionnaire surveys, qualitative in-depth interviews, forecasts, strategic documents, and so on, and also analyze existing quantitative data. And also, the committee also commissioned research on specific topics. So next slide, please. So then we're going to look at some main findings from this latest report on skill needs for the green transition. Next slide, please. What we find in this report, and you see that illustrated by this figure here, is that there's the largest increase in the need for science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and the craft subjects due to the green transition. So here you see the different subject categories, and you see if the businesses indicate that they need more, the same, or less of these different subject domains. So next slide, please. So in this slide, you see some of the main findings that are highlighted in this last report from the committee. We conclude that the green transition is, of course, fast, it's broad, and is characterized by uncertainty. And this is also a very important point, actually. We also find that the green transition reinforces many skills needs. There's a great need for engineers, ICT specialists, and skilled workers in technology and trades, including electrical engineering. What we also see is that competence needs change across the breadth of working life. And we find that there's a need for many different types of occupational and business-specific sustainability competence. What we also find is that there's increased need for basic skills to handle the high pace of change. That means that everybody have to have a solid basis of these basic skills to be actually able to adapt to changes. So this is also a very, very important point. And finally, we also conclude that many competence needs must be met by those already in work. And that also means that we see an increased need for lifelong learning. Of course, you need to integrate these kind of competencies also in the first round of education. But it's also, as stated there, very, very important also that everybody participates in lifelong learning and also actually get this kind of training while working to meet also these new skills and needs. So that was a brief look into what this Norwegian Committee on Skill Needs actually look at, and a little bit of the findings from this last report on skill needs for the green transitions. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Are. Let's see if we got Eva with us now, perhaps. Otherwise, I'll take over. Okay, thank you so much. And maybe I don't think I mentioned earlier what questions we actually asked you to answer. And those were, are there critical skills missing, and what has been done in respective Nordic country to recruit and attract? So I believe next on our list is Johan Sittenfeld from Engineers of Sweden. Please, Johan, take the floor.
Thank you so much for the possibility to join you. I would just mention that Engineers of Sweden is a professional organization, also a union for engineers in Sweden. And actually, we are also cooperating with our sister engineering associations in the Nordic countries, and we have, among other things, worked on a report concerning skill in the green transition. So next slide, please, and even the next, I believe. So I just start with some general reflections. Of course, since I come from an engineering association, I believe that technology is very important, but it's also perhaps important to stress that it's not the only thing we need for the solution of these issues. And I think you also have to actually to realize that the industrialization and technology have also created problems, of course, but it's also a very, very important part of the solution. And the impression I get when I speak to members is that actually everyone more or less seems to be affected by this to a larger or smaller extent. But I believe if you look at each individual, I mean, in general, at least, I believe that they are not affected that much, which is to say that they need to add new knowledge, but perhaps not all that much. That is my belief. And maybe it's also good to think about that everything we're talking about now, let's say carbon capture storage or the production of hydrogen gas, we have actually done that for quite some time. So the knowledge is not entirely new, but the context might be new, and we need to do it on a much larger scale than we did have done before. And just a final general remark, I believe that the green competence is somehow, perhaps just the understanding how to use the knowledge that you already have for more green purposes. So next, please. And if you look at the engineering education, as we all know, technologies are developed and changing very rapidly, but I very much believe that at the same time, we cannot change science and engineering programs all the time. I mean, of course, we have to change them little by little, but we can't change them to a great deal all the time. And I also believe that there is actually no need for that, because most of the knowledge that you get in this education actually lasts during your entire working life, I very much believe. So rather than focusing so much about the specific knowledge that we need to add, for instance, to engineering education, even more important might be that more students are attracted to science, technology, engineering, and math. But having said that, actually in Sweden, we have 12,000 students starting an engineering education every year, which corresponds to about 10% of the cohort every year. So the number of engineering students are definitely not low. It's just that the demand is so high. At the same time, only about 50% of those reach a degree, and at least we believe that we can't increase the number of students. We have to more work with the quality to get more of them actually finishing. And then a final remark on this, you can see here that if we look at this, the pupils in year 9, who are the best in mathematics, 34% of boys continue to engineering studies, but only 15% of the girls. So there is definitely a potential there. But at the same time, I would like to say that about 30% of engineering students are women. So I don't think that is such a low number. So next, please. And yeah, this is very much what Ari also mentioned. I believe that lifelong learning is actually the key, perhaps, to all this. and much of the learning takes place at the workplace. I mean, in your daily working life. And for instance, as an engineer, what you do is basically solving technical problems. And by doing that, you more or less always have to learn something new. But mostly you're doing that just by maybe talking to colleagues, more experienced colleagues, etc. But at the same time, of course, also formal education will be needed. And that is also many times done by internal academies, at least in the larger companies. But you also need to use external providers of education like universities. And I believe that since we can reach so many people with lifelong learning, and we can do it with quite a little effort, that it can make a considerable impact very quickly with not that much effort, I believe. Next, please. So on my last slide, trying to answer your original question for this seminar. I think also this is very similar to what Are mentioned, but we really believe that you need both a broad and a deep knowledge. You always have to have a deep knowledge within your technical field, but apart from that, you need an understanding of system thinking, ethical aspects of what you're working with, I mean, societal effects, etc., etc. And of course, digitalization and electrification should have been there too. It will make just a huge impact on industry and society as a whole. And actually, when we look at what engineers who are working with research and development are actually doing, so many of them are more or less working with software development. And just to add to one more thing, and that is, of course, the materials and the circularity of materials, which become even more and more important. We have to become better on that, I believe. So the initial design phase of products will be very important so that we can extend the lifespan of products, also reuse them, and finally recycle them much better than today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Johan. So just to conclude, then we should focus more on strengthening STEM studies. I also heard you mentioning lifelong learning and both broad and deep knowledge, and to take stock of new technologies. Thank you so much for your remarks. I think next on the list is Martin. No, sorry, Johan Hall from the Swedish Trade Union Confederation.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, Johan. Please take the floor.
Yeah, thanks. Well, the headline of this, skills needed for green transition. And from a union perspective, we usually talk about a just transition. For us, it's very important to make this transition just. We think we need to do this transition, but we think it's very difficult to make the transition if it's not just. Because what we're talking about here is actually a structural change. We will produce new things with new methods and so on, and new competence. So it's a huge structural change, this green transition, and we have to make it in a way that people think is just. And so this is a little bit of what I'm going to talk about, I think. Next slide, please. Everything is not electricity. We know that we will change energy forms, and that the world has to be fossil free if we are going to meet the criteria of the Paris Agreement. And the solution people talk about is often more electricity, and that means, of course, more electricians. That's very important, of course. And we need to invest a lot of that, and we need more electricians. But as the question was asked in the beginning here, how can we attract workers to the green transition? I think we also need to realize that we need to have attractive societies. We see that in the northern part of Sweden, there will probably be 100,000 new people needs to live there. It's an area where 500,000 people lives today, and we need to increase that with 100,000. And that means also that not only green jobs will be needed, but also we need schools, traditional jobs, teachers, child caretakers, and We need absolutely more houses and buildings, because what we see now is a lot of fly in, fly out. People just fly in there, work for a few days, and then they fly back, which is very difficult for their families, of course, but also for the society there as a whole. So we need to create also sustainable societies. We also know that we need more public and private services, everything from elderly care to shops and restaurants and things like that. So when we talk about this green transition, we also talk about making people, we need more people working with traditional jobs as well. You can take the next slide, please. But also what this is all about. We talk about a period now that's called Anthropocene, and that's actually when we have a period where we can see that humans affect the Earth's climate and ecosystem. And why is that? What's so different? And I would say that if you go to the real nitty-gritty, it's a consequence of what we produce and how we produce. What we produce, what we have produced the last 150 years, and how we produce it. So that's what we have to think about, actually. The next slide, please. And of course, this involves a number of questions. It's not very easy, actually, to figure out what to be done at each and every workplace, because what we're talking about here is billions of places where you can find emissions that will affect the climate. And there is not one solution for each and every one of them, but you have to find your own local problem and your own local solutions. So what I suggest here is, like, we have to discuss at each and every workplace how we affect the climate and what has to be done. And that has to be done, I think, between the unions and the employers. And the Nordic system involves a very organized society with lots of employers' organizations and also unions organized in many workplaces, the majority of the workplaces. So I think we have a great opportunity here to create this just transition with traditional negotiations between unions and employers. And the first question everyone has to raise at each workplace is, what climate impact does this workplace have, either by what we produce or how we produce it? And the next one is, of course, what is required for this workplace to become climate neutral? It could be produce another thing. We might need to produce electric vehicles, for instance, instead of vehicles with combustion motors. Or as in Sweden, we have to produce steel using hydrogen instead of coal, and so on. And that leads us to the third question. What skills do the workforce need here at this workplace? And we know that this transition means that some jobs will disappear. And then we will have to figure out, and some jobs will change, like in car industries, for instance. You will still produce cars, but they will look different. Not so many people working with combustion motor, but more people working with batteries, for instance, or electric motors. And we also know that some jobs will be added. More electricity, more battery production and things like that. So we actually have to match these things, match people with the new jobs. And this is what we can do when we ask the last question. So we have to figure out if there is any redundancy here. Do these people need training or retraining or skills development? Or if there is some new technology introduced, what do they need the people who work here to take care of that technology? So I think by raising these three questions, we can have some kind of democratized, just transition. And yeah, that's my last word. I think the time is running out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Johan. From what I can hear, everything is not electricity. Building attractive societies is also very important, and not one solution for each and everyone, for each and every workplace. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to give the word to Martin in Denmark.
Thank you, Josefina. I hope you can hear me now. I'm very happy to be able to join you here today and for the invitation. I think I will have to start out with a short presentation of what kind of organization we are. I'll do this very briefly. We are part of the Nordic system with the social partners playing a large role in different parts of society, including the educational sector. And the organization I represent is Industriens Uddannelser, and it's owned by the social partners in the manufacturing industry. That is the Danish Confederation of Industry and the Metal Workers Union and the Union of some other unions. So I'm representing both sides in this matter, but our main task is to determine what skills are needed in the vocational system. So this is the crafts that you mentioned earlier are that you discovered in Norway. There's a large demand for. That's what we're working with, and we've been doing this study that I'll present for you today about what skills specifically are needed to reach our targets for the green transition. So that's what I'm going to present for you today. Can you show me the next slide, please? Yeah, thank you. Please, yeah, it's stepwise. Yeah, this is the first one. Let's start out here. Denmark has this 70% target. That means that by 2030, we will have to reduce the CO2 equivalent emission by 70%. That's a quite ambitious target, and there's a lot of debate right now whether this is realistic, but as of now, this is the target, and that's what we're working for. So to reach this target, has been made a lot of political initiatives, and I won't go into these in detail, but many of them consist of energy investments, and a large part of this is offshore wind farms, and this obviously needs a large investment. We also look into, of course, hydrogen and all the power to X, which also is a big part of this. So what we've been doing is that we're looking at the investments needed to reach this target. So there's been a large study here where all the sectors have been studying what investments are needed in our particular sector, and that is energy, manufacturing, transport, and so on, to be able to reach this target. And we've been looking at these investments and adding them all together. So please show me the next slide, not slide, but this one. Yeah. When we add all these investments together that are needed to reach this 70% target, we can see that it is 799 billion Danish kroner. So this is just a huge amount of money that will be needed to reach the target. And a lot of this is underway right now. So this is both public and private investments. So this is what it needs to be done by companies, but also by the public sector, which of course plays a large role in the energy investments. So our question is, what does this mean for the skilled needs? And we've been the study I'm talking about here is done by analyzing if we pour these investments into the economy as we know it today, what the employees would be needed to actually build all these wind farms and expand the electricity transmission system and so on and so on. And when we're doing these calculations, as you can see on the next one, the next slide, or yeah, this one, you can see that these investments will cause an extra demand for 195,000 full-time employees in the manufacturing sector alone in this period of time from 23 to 35. And that is around 15,000 persons a year if you just level it out. And you have to keep in mind this is the manufacturing sector alone. So there might be other demands in other parts of the economy. There will be, and you have to compare this to the Danish manufacturing sector, which is about right now maybe it's somewhere between 300 and 400,000 employees. So it's not a large manufacturing sector. So in relative terms, this is a very large increase of the skills demand. So right now we're having political discussions about how to meet this skills demand, which is quite pressing. And we partly due to this analysis, but also other work from other people, we are coming to a conclusion that simply is if we don't manage to educate or in some other way bring these skills to the market, there won't be this green transition, and it will be impossible to reach this 70% target. So as we saw in the introduction, this skills agenda is moving quickly up the agenda when we're talking green transition. Please show the next slide, because this is where you can see something about what kinds of skills are needed. As you can see, this is totally corresponds to the Norwegian findings that this is mostly metal workers, and what here is called unskilled workers, but that's not quite precise, because as you can see, the unskilled workers will also need lots of skills to participate in this, and they usually have lots of skills even though they don't have a formal education. I have listed some of the skills needs that we have identified, and I can say that digitalization, automation are the number one skills that are mentioned in context of the green transition. So that was about it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? This is a bit scary, but I try. Thank you so much, Martin. It's interesting that the electricians, for instance, was such a short amount, but still we talk about wind, electricity, etc. And we when we think of Denmark, we think a lot of wind. But I see what you mean also, because I know that the situation in Finland has been exactly the same. It's the vocational training, yrkesgymnasia, as we say, where you don't need more sort of super skilled workers, but rather quite basic skills. Is that the picture also in Denmark, Martin?
Yeah, it is exactly the picture, and I can completely agree with it. It's not all electricity, and also the point that the skills needed are mostly skills that we already know of, and that is already a part of our education system, but we just need huge amounts more of it.
So what you say now is that we need a huge amount more of those that we have already, but still, if I also connect to what Johan and Are said before, we also need to do what we've done in a new way, because we have a completely new situation. We have a new sort of set of challenges that are interconnected, that are also it's a lot of uncertainty, as Are mentioned in the beginning. So we really need to do things in new ways.
Exactly. You have
we
to put
will come back to this, but it's like a paradox. We need more people in the same, but we also need them to do different things all the time. So we'll come back.
Skills, but new purposes.
Exactly. Old skills, new purposes. Good, thank you. Do we have Mikko with us? Has he joined? Tilde, can you see?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, wonderful. Hello, Mikko Viletojärvi. You have been with us many workshops and now also in this webinar. We are very glad to have you with us from the Confederation of Finnish Industry, EK. Please give us an overview of the Finnish situation. Mikko.
Yes, do you have my slides there?
Yes, Tilde will change them for you.
I think it's Maria that's going first.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sad. I was so eager to get Mikko in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll wait for a while.
Yeah, exactly. You wait another 7 minutes, Mikko. I'm sorry, Maria.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
It's not my. I just knew that Mikko was late in, and this was why.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
please, Iceland, we want to hear from you now.
Yeah,
And
thank
the
you.
challenges and opportunities of Iceland. Please, Maria Jana Magnusdottir.
Thank you. Hi and good morning. Yeah, and my name is Mariana Magnusdottir, and I'm here on behalf of the Icelandic Federation for Motor Trades and Repairs and the Federation for Trade and Service here in Iceland. But we, both federations are working very closely together. The green transition involves a comprehensive transformation of various sectors. The goal is to reduce environmental impact and address climate change. The green transition is often characterized by the move away from traditional resource-intensive and polluting practices towards cleaner, renewable, and more efficient alternatives, as we have all been talking about. But what are we doing to achieve this? We are using technology. And for the motor industry, we have seen rapid change here in Iceland with electric cars and zero-emission cars coming into the market. The changes here in Iceland have been very fast, and the EV are 67.9% of all new privately bought cars this year. And zero emission for PC cars are now 9.6% of the total car fleet here in Iceland. This change calls for very fast training for both sales personnel and as well for those that are servicing the car for the after sales part. It is our view that to be able to assist our members to coping with this rapid change and the changes in skills that comes with those changes that are taking place, it is important for them to understand the difference between this fourth and fifth industrial revolution. Therefore, our first step have been to address those differences to our member companies. So if you can put maybe next slide on. As we look at those differences, we see that the focus in the fourth industrial revolution is the technology, efficiency, and automation. We see remote work, digital collaboration, and technical breakthroughs. Looking at the fifth industrial revolution, we start to focus in on integrating this technology with human consciousness and emotional intelligence. Leaders need to balance technology and human-centric values. We need to understand to combine those very well together. This leads to the progress of the fourth and fifth industrial revolution, that we must embrace the leadership style that harmonize technological advancement with the richness of the human experience. This balanced approach will be crucial for humanity to just survive and thrive in upcoming revolution. So maybe next slide. So the association assessed that to respond to these rapid and large changes, we thought it was very important that a cooperation between us, the both associations and the commercial worker union here in Iceland, to work together. Therefore, earlier this year, we had the conference where the chairman of the Trade and Service and the chairman of the Commercial Union signed a landmark cooperation agreement aimed at focused work on skills increased for employees in retail and service sector until 2030. And maybe next slide. The agreement sets out three main objectives that will be highlighted by various actions taken by the companies up to 2030.
The first one aims for 80% of the employees of companies in retail and service to study, which aim to increase skills and knowledge. The program is advised to take place through regular and continuing training to ensure that employees of retail and service enterprises always have access to the training that enables them to take on the task required by the rapidly transforming labor market. The second part is particular attention will be paid to improving the knowledge and skills of the large group of staff in retail and service enterprises who have the Icelandic as a second language. And the third, aim for the commercial and service sector to develop the define and method that will result in recognition or certification of the given object of the agreement. With the agreement between those two parties, we want to show that it is joint task of Trade and Service Workers Association and Employers Association to ensure that the education and skills for staff are always in line with needs. I want to address further the first part of the agreement. Next slide. The World Economic Forum has highlighted the 10 most important comprehensive elements of today's and in the coming year. For example, the first 3 are analytical thinking, critical thinking, and flexibility. With the agreement, we have committed to send out a yearly survey to our companies and the employees of the union for them to assess the most important competence elements they think are today and believe will be the most important in the coming years. We are looking for how the labor market sees the accessibility, attitudes, and participation in skills, and such a survey will give us information on how rapidly the changes are and how in line the manager and top management in companies are with the skills the employees thinks are necessary as well. This will assess companies to hire employees with the skills needed and train the ones already working in the company with needed skills. For us to master this green transition, all players need to be on the same page. This part that I have addressed here is only one small contribution and one piece of the large puzzles that we are trying to do here, but we need to get our companies and the employees on the same page on what we need for the future. And for us, we can see that the employees sometimes have much more to contribute to the ladder, if we can say so, what is needed. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Maria. I think this was extremely interesting. Of course, closing the gap, we've been discussing that earlier, but when you brought up leadership and a more sort of value-driven leadership, and I think what you call the human-centric view on this, then I started to shiver a little because this is something that we don't normally sort of think of when we think of engineers, and this is a new set of sort of skills, but also personalities. So we need to attract broader, probably.
Yeah, I think that's going to be more valuable.
Yeah, exactly. It's so super interesting. Thank you so much, Maria. Now I hope it's time to welcome Mikko Viletojärvi from Helsinki, Finland. Are you with us? Yes.
I'm with you, yes.
Thank you. Please give us the picture from the Finnish view.
Yes, so hello everyone. I'm Mikko Viletojärvi from the Confederation of Finnish Industries. I work at as a senior advisor for educational skills policy at the Green Growth team. We had an organizational change year and a half ago. we combined advisors for education policy, research, innovation, digitalization, transportation, energy, and climate for this new green growth theme. We are around 10 people working with these issues. And when we started this green growth theme, the first thing we have been asked all the time is that what are the skills needs of the green transition, and we started to working on this matter. We know that the green transition is affecting the whole society. It affects transportation, it affects the housing, it affects the manufacturing, everything, and skills are not an exception for that. First, we tried to give an overview of the change in skills needs due to the green transition, but pretty soon we find it impossible because it's the green transition, it affects different industries differently, and it affects the different professions or different occupations inside the industry differently. And that's why we created this framework that I'm going to show you for industries, companies, and why not even individuals to help recognize change in skills needs instead of us at the Confederation of Finnish Industry giving an overview. Can I have the next slide? So here is the framework we created. We call this skills onion because of the layers. And we created a pyramid, but we thought that it would be nicer if we have this circular model. It doesn't really matter how you describe this, but the point is that there are general skills that are based on everything else. I would say that there are no skills if there are no general skills to build the green skills on. It's really important that we make sure that everyone has good basic skills, because without basic skills or general skills, it is hard or even impossible to learn things that are needed in the more and more complex working life. We recognize the importance of literacy, then these STEM skills, communication skills, problem-solving skills, and I'm sure that there could be some more skills added also for this general skills part, but these are at least very important when we speak about the green competence. Then the second layer is the sustainability skills. We didn't do really much anything on this sustainability skills because the EU's Green Comp is really good overview or really good foundation for sustainability skills, embodying the sustainability values, embracing complexity in the sustainability, envisioning sustainable futures, and acting for sustainability. This is the core for the sustainability skills. So we didn't need to add anything. We took it directly from the EU's Green Comp. Then is the IT competencies. First, we thought that this IT competence could be inside the general skills, but we don't believe that there's any green transition without the digital transformation first, or digital transition. And if you read about the reports on the green skills needs, they all emphasize the importance of digital skills. Unfortunately, I couldn't join you at the beginning, but with at least one or two previous speakers mentioned this importance of digital skills as well. So it's very good that it's separately from the general skills here, because they emphasize the importance there. And then we're heading for the fourth layer, which is the industry-specific skills and competencies. And these are the ones that are differentiating between industries and different and professions. And this is the thing that we think that, or believe that all the industries and companies, and why not even individuals, could and should define. What are the industry-specific skills we need in our company, we need within our industry, I need when I work at this profession. And then what we call the green competence, it's the combination of these different skills. Can I have then the next slide? And we created 3 questions to help define these or identify these industry-specific skills. First is that what industry-specific skills will change with the green transition. This is for all industries. There are different ways. If you're speaking about manufacturing industries, there will be changes. If you're speaking about the energy industries, there will be changes. And even if you're talking about service industries, there will be changes. But what are the changes? What are the core changes that will change the industry and because of the green transition? Then this second question is that what are the industry-specific skills that are missing, that are essential for green transition? I'm sure that there are skills mismatches. There are missing skills companies need for the green transition and don't have at the moment. It's either need for recruitment, new recruitments, or need for learning for the staff. But there are skills needs, and you need to find a way how to fix that. And then because we believe, or I'm pretty sure, that the industry missing industry-specific skills, there are plenty of them. So at first you need to make sure that to know what are the most critical industry-specific competencies for the realization of the green transition. And if you have the answers for all these 3 questions, you can really lead the skills with the green transition.
Thank you so much, Mikko. Was this your last slide?
Well, I have this few more slides, but I don't have anything to add because it's just those questions here on the next slides.
Yeah, I really like this onion.
Yeah.
Where you start with a big picture and you get more and more sort of specific to your workplace and your industry. But the important thing is also that the green transition affects all, and in a way we are all winners of the green transition, and we also need to communicate that.
Yeah, we had the same problem with the digitalization.
Yes.
It also affects on different industry, different professions differently. So you can't really say that this is really important with the most important skills with digitalization, because it's completely different in different industries. And I think the green transition is similar in that way. And that's why we created this, instead of trying to say that, okay, these are the skills needed for the green transition.
Thank you so much, Mikko. And I also think when you combine the challenges and opportunities of the digital transition with the challenges of the green transition, you can also see that the pace and there are so many things that need to go far too much faster than we are used to, and then we need the digital transformation to help us there. but not forget the people in the process. Thank you so much, Mikko. And if you change to the next slide, please, Tilde. It's time to now go over to messages to our policymakers, Josefina, and just to give you some words on the way. I would like to just summarize very shortly what we've heard so far. And with Are starting with the uncertain situation that we are actually in all together now. This requires the lifelong learning, but it also, as we heard from Johan Hall, it affects the whole society. We need to think of attractive societies to avoid fly-in, fly-outs, but also to avoid that we create a sort of winner and loser team here. We must see that we are all winners in the transition. That the importance of basic skills, many of you have emphasized that, but also basic skills used in new challenges. And the importance, of course, to attract young people to STEM, but also when they have chosen STEM at university, that they actually commit themselves and stay. In Sweden, we have a situation where half of them actually quit. We can't have it like that. And the focus on attractive societies and digital transition, we've talked about that. And from Iceland, this important aspect of values and a human-centric sort of critical thinking, but also some kind of, I almost feel like it's a more sort of existential touch to the transition, and what that also makes when it comes to competencies. What do we value and why? And finally, the skills onion from Finland, where we see from the broader perspective to the every workplace and all scales in between, that this really affects the whole society. So Josefina, what can be done now at the policy level, and what could we sort of convey from this webinar to the policy levels nationally, but also Nordic and EU? It's a small thing for you. You will have like 20 minutes to sort this out with the panel.
Right. Yeah,
So
that's
please,
a $1 million
go
question,
ahead.
right? Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, thank you to all panelists for truly inspiring and very thought-provoking interventions. This next session is focusing on packaging these insights into messages to policymakers. As I'm sure both panelists and audience are well aware, the question of skills in the green transition is high on the agenda, not only in our respective countries, but also in the Nordic region as such, and within the EU. I believe some of you mentioned the EU and EU standards. And I believe there's a common feeling of emergency around this question, as securing the right skills and the right workers is imperative for the green transition. The work and actions needed are, after all, as some of you mentioned, dependent on the people performing them. And I know the EU is highlighting this year as the European Year of Skills, lifting its importance for long-term sustainability, for growth and competitiveness. And there are many other examples from a policy level, from all policy levels. We have sent out invitations to this webinar to policymakers from all of the Nordic countries, and I believe that at least a few of them are listening here today. And we will also gather the insights from today and send them to relevant policymakers as recommendations afterwards. So I have a few questions to all panelists. And those are, how can policy on a national, Nordic and EU level help drive needed changes? And is there a need to harmonize actions? And what can be done to avoid competition of the same skills and instead strengthen Nordic cooperation? And I thought we'd start with Camilla Georgsson from the Swedish engineering industries, who will give her perspective, and then we will open up the floor for all other panelists to comment. So Camilla, please take the floor.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone for interesting presentations. There are a lot of common denominators, as we can tell. Just a few words from my perspective as well, when it comes to representing the Swedish companies within the technology industry. I mean, they are proud leaders of this green transition. For a lot of companies, the transition is not something that they just need to consider or an aspect of business. It is the business. So therefore, I think we need to have this perspective as well when talking about competence and skills for the green transition. What we know is that 85% of the large Swedish companies within the technology industry find it increasingly difficult to find the right competence and skills. And we know that there's a connection to the green transition here. So firstly, that's sort of the lay of the land. And when it comes to policy, an overarching thing that I would like to say is to see the importance of consistency and cooperation. And consistency is key here. If we see policy initiatives that die down as fast as they flare up, we have companies and institutions within education and research that are not going to trust those initiatives and therefore not utilize them. So I think that's something that we always need to consider. It's often, you know, a lot of people say, well, we've got this new initiative, it's great. But then 2 years later, 4 years later, a new government, for instance, new commission will get rid of that and replace it with something else. And that is a problem for sure. And cooperation is connected to consistency for sure. So it's cooperation within politics, but also between countries and so on. So I think those are some of the aspects we have to consider. And when it comes to the national level, I mean, we've heard presentations that cover most of the things that we work with here as well. From our side, we see that it's important to actually focus and allocate resources to fields of education that lead to a strong position on the labor market. Because we don't have resources for everything. We also need specific allocation of resources to upskilling and reskilling, and several other panelists have touched upon this as well. In Sweden, we have this new reform that is a transition and retraining support. So you can get a study grant and an optional loan to retrain in the middle of working life. And that's a result of cooperation as well and negotiations between the employee and employers organizations that is now supported by the government. In Sweden, we don't have a STEM strategy yet. It is vital that we get one in place, a solid STEM strategy, because we need to build from the bottom up. We need to get more people into these important fields of education. And also, well, I want to let the other panelists join as well. But when it comes to not competing too much with each other, from the Association of Swedish Engineering Industries, we are actually promoting that Sweden create a strategy for technology and innovation, a national strategy, through a bottom-up perspective, so that we can identify our strengths and focus on them as well, which I think would lead hopefully to decreased competition in the negative sense, although we think that competition as such is not bad. Yeah. I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Camilla. What I gather here is consistency, that it's key, and the need for policymakers to combine policies. Also, the need for a Swedish STEM strategy, and also the need for a national strategy. Was it a technical one?
Technology and innovation, yes.
Technology and innovation, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. And Are, do you have any comments on this question? You raised your hand, yes.
Yeah, I just want to highlight also one point that I also had in my presentation, and that is also a rather concrete message to policymakers, and that is to actually create better systems for lifelong learning. Because we need more flexible programs that can combine with working, and also that we can upskill and reskill actually the people who are working in the businesses. And I think we have to work quite a lot on that to get better systems for lifelong learning. So that is one concrete message.
Thank you. Thank you, Are. So yes, upskill and reskill, the need for that and lifelong learning. I can see that, Martin, you've also raised your hand.
Yes, thank you. It was actually almost the same, because noting Camilla's point that we need consistency in the ways that we're able to supply skills to the labor market. We also, to achieve that consistency, we need flexible systems, because we can't rely on these pop-up political initiatives. And one part of that reliability and flexibility is coming from lifelong learning. And I will just draw attention to the Danish solution to that problem, and it is called the AMU. It's Arbejdsmarkedsudbildning, and this are short technical courses, and they are heavily subsidized both by, of course, from the public budget, but also from funds that are made by the social partners. So a large part of the economy for this flexibility is actually financed by the social partners. So I hope that could be some kind of inspiration. And another common point here is that we see a lack of skilled workers in the technical fields, and we are having, I'm sure you also know this problem in the other countries, we're having a recruitment crisis for those subjects when we're talking craftsmen and technical vocational skills. And I think we need solutions for that. And a part of that solution is investment in that part of the educational sector. Thank you.
Thank you. So are these measures mainly on a natural level, the measures needed, or do we need also Nordic cooperation in this field?
I think most of this is done nationally, but I think there is a great potential for Nordic inspiration, because our systems are similar, but not perfectly similar. So we can draw a lot of inspiration. We have some of the same tools at our disposal. We have strong cooperation between the social partners, and I think we can leverage that to be part of the solution of these shortages, even though they're quite substantial.
Perfect. Thank you. And I can see, Mikko, you've also raised your hand.
Yes, thank you. I fully agree with Are about the importance of the lifelong learning. What is the new thing that we need is short trainings. At least in Finland, we need more short trainings for the skills needed in this green transition. The company needs are now, and if you think about the degrees and the length of the degrees, if a company now needs engineers who can work with the green transition, and if we start a new program for that, it will take at least 5 years until the first engineers graduate from the program. But the skills differences from the engineers that are currently working are not that huge. So with the shorter trainings, we can find ways to tackle those skills mismatches. And I believe this is all national policies, but within the Nordic cooperation, what we need more is the share of best practices. And what this project is also doing. It's really good to hear from the colleagues at how are you tackling these issues within your countries, because this is what we need. We need to learn from each other, share the best practices, not copy them, but learn from them on the national policies then. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so I heard the need for short trainings, and that these are low-hanging fruit. This is mainly national policies, but also something, I mean, knowledge sharing then within the Nordics, maybe not for copying, but for inspiration more. So Camilla, would you like to?
I think also Johan and also we want to hear from Maria in Iceland.
Yeah,
so we don't forget
that would
her.
be great.
But
I was
perhaps Johan
focusing
first.
on the raised hands here, but yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yes, thank you. No, I just agree, especially what Mikko says earlier, just to learn from each other going through this, because this is going very fast. So we are not able to spend the time finding how we are going to do it, but try to, learn how others are approaching this and try to copying, of course, for our own country, because we are different. So I think that's very important. And also what others have said, the education, we need to be able to have like this short-term or shorter educational that you can add to your a degree, because I think if, for example, I'm an engineering, I should be pushed also to train in something more what I can humanly more soft skills as well, because I think that's going to be very important in this future, to have both the technical and also this human level, if we can see the soft skills, what you call. So but
perhaps Maria, it's a mistake to call it soft skills, because it has a connotation of not being as important as hard skills.
Yeah,
so I really liked your picture there, with the fifth industrial revolution and what it requires from us.
Yeah, and I think we are here today because we have been focusing on the other skills, which have led us to this area, and which is very good. But now we need to be able to combine them a little bit more together. I think that's what is very, very necessary for the next steps here. But but like everybody said, I think it's very important that we learn from each other. So we are not spending time on finding a wheel for each country, because
over and over again.
Very similar.
Josefina, I think it's Johan Hall now, and then Camilla.
Thank you. Well, I agree with what many of you have said, that we need to have some kind of flexibility when it comes to education, because there is a lot of different things that has to be needed, and there is a lot of competence already that we have to use, but maybe we can just add some more for many people and solve it that way. I also agree with Camilla Jörisson about the transition assistance that they have introduced in Sweden now, which is a kind of three-party agreement with the employers, the unions, and the state on a kind of lifelong learning system with a lot of flexibility that I think is very useful for this kind of transition that we see here. We really don't know exactly what we need all over Sweden or in the Nordic countries, but each and every person or workplace can figure out what is needed for the future. So I think that's a good way to start. And if unions and employers can negotiate on that, and the state can trust them to find the right demands or the right educations or trainings, and the state will finance it, that's a great system, I think. Unfortunately, though, I must say that there isn't enough money in the system, or there is money in the system, but this government has unfortunately not paid enough to the authority, to the payment authority.
When we talked yesterday, you also wanted to emphasize the Nordic perspective a little, you know, the family feeling of the Nordic countries.
Yeah, I know, and that's a thing that we have been working with in the trade union confederation, the Nordic Trade Union Confederation. We know that there are a lot of people living in one country, working in another Nordic country, or perhaps moves to another Nordic country for a few years, then moves back. And we also have to make the systems work better, especially the social security system, so that it's easy to move and work in other Nordic countries. I think
that's something for the policymakers.
Yeah.
Josefina, over to you, and I think it's Camilla now on the speakers list.
Yes, I think Camilla's next on the list. Yes.
Thank you. I just want to echo basically all of the previous speakers without repeating what they've said. Some great points have been made. I mean, it is easier than ever to share experiences, to best practices. And I mean, I don't know anyone involved in education policy in Sweden who doesn't have a study visit to Finland at the top of their list as one of the first things to do. I've been to some seminars now that have talked about the Danish model for allocating resources to higher education. So I mean, we are being inspired by each other and should continue to do so. However, another point is that mobility on the labor market is really important in order to get the right competence and skills for the green transition. And when it comes to this, something concrete that I think we could increase our cooperation on is when it comes to the validation and recognition of prior learning. That's something that I think we could continue working on, because it is very important, and we're not quite there yet, if I can put it that way. So yeah, that's something concrete that we should be working on in the Nordics and the EU.
Thank you. Can we have a short comment from you also, Johan Sittenfeld, before we conclude?
Yeah, I can be very short. I actually agree with everything you have said, and I would just like to say that maybe policy concerning education is very much on a national level, I believe, but we can still learn from one another, and we do have some differences in our industrial strength. So there we can share, maybe not share skill, but share how to develop skill. And yeah, and just finally, I concerning the study grant Camilla mentioned, I think that's very, very good, but we also need to develop courses that are sort of suited for people in the workforce.
Thank you. Thank you all. It's been such an intense webinar and morning here. Josefina, we have 1 minute to conclude. What do you say? What is on your list to the policymakers now?
Well, we have so many questions here, but I'll try to gather them all. Upskill, the need for upskill and reskill, of consistency, of course. Also lifelong learning. I heard a few of you mentioning that. Also, the need to exchange good examples, I think, from different Nordic countries. So, and also that many of the measures are low-hanging fruit, which is very promising, I think.
I think this issue with the political constituency that you lifted, Camilla, also to build trust in this process at all levels, actually, not only national, but really Nordic and EU as well. Fantastic. I also think that better systems for lifelong learning is something that we can inspire from each other, and short trainings, of course, if we look what we can do with digital systems today, I mean, MOOCs, etc. It's no problem to just sign up for a digital course. So that is something we really could share more. I have learned so much this morning. I'm sure you have, and I'm so glad that we have been listening to perspectives from all Nordic countries, and we will gather the policy recommendations in a document that we will share with you and share with stakeholders broader. Josefina, how would you like to summarize this seminar?
Oh, thank you, Eva. Well, I'm very happy we had such broad perspectives and that we could also gather panelists from all Nordic countries, which gives us more fine-tuned recommendations, I think, to policy. So I'm very happy about that.
Me too. And with that, we thank you, and we close the webinar from Stockholm, and we thank you all for participating. And please remember that there is no green transition if we don't get everybody on board. This is something where we are all winners, actually. So, and we can't do it without people. So skills is in the middle of this challenge, and we'll do it together. Thank you so much, everybody, and hope to see you soon again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.